Hey guys, can you hear me? How's it going? Sorry I'm a little bit late, I had a few technical issues, but if this is working fine, you can hear me, let me know. Looks as if everything's alright. But how y'all doing, guys, this week? Hope you had a good week. The weather has certainly turned here. It was absolutely roasting last weekend. And this weekend, it is terribly freezing. Oh, forgot to have the titles up. There we go. But I'll just wait to make sure that everyone's here. I know it's a little bit later than usual this week. I'm still having some technical issues I'm trying to work around. Hopefully I'll get this sorted. But I take it we all enjoyed the finale then, or did you? Because I've been reading online and yeah, there's been a bit of debate, a bit of back and forth about the whole fake out death things and rug pulls and what's the other one I keep hearing? Plot armor. Which I don't know, I'm going to have to think about it a little bit, but yeah, they better stop the fake out deaths in season 3. But what did you guys think of the final? If you enjoyed it, or the finale I should say, if you enjoyed it, put a Y in the chat, and if you didn't, put an N. I'll just give it a few minutes. Because I think the problem was that episode 9 was so good, and it ended on such a, not a highlight obviously, but it ended on such a like, oh my god, where are they going to take this next? That kind of should have been the season finale, I think a lot of people are thinking. People saying some problems with the audio. Is that any better? Sound is fine. Right, cool, excellent. But glad to see there's a few familiar faces in the chat. But yeah, a few twists. Like, there's some things that happened in the finale that I'll get into that I can't believe happened in a good way, and some that I can't believe happened in a bad way. Like the whole Seraph and Dawn thing. Like, oh, that was unexpected. I wonder where they're going to go with that. I think I've seen a few interviews. Well, not I think. I know I've seen a few interviews with Goyer. I think he posted on Reddit as well, saying that Seraph and Dawn's child, or children, or whatever descendants down the line are going to be important. So that interests me quite a bit. But I guess that means we're not going to see Seraph and Dawn a lot next season. But it depends on the time jump as well, and of course we're going to get to that final scene with the mule 152 years down the line. Because it looks as if they are bringing him in, well, I wouldn't say a lot quicker because they're time jumping, but they'll definitely bring him into the story a lot quicker. I thought we wouldn't get him till around season 3, but obviously decided to bring him in season 2. So yeah, people seem to enjoy the finale. Irene says, I thought the Spacers and their turnaround were great. Yeah, I did do a video on the Spacers and how I thought they were going to play a part like this a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was. And it felt like it was a bit forced in for me, just to tie everything up. What they should have done a wee nod to it a little bit more than that kind of mark. I always call it a bite, but it's not a bite. The mark that the Spacers put on Hobor. I just think they could have set that one up a little bit better. But there's a lot of spinning plates, obviously, in the finale, especially in those scenes on Terminus, with Day, Hobor, Bell, Constant, you know, and everyone else, and how that ends. And I suppose we're going to get to that as well. Vic, welcome back. Good to see you back in the chat. Hope you had a good week. John D, I think Tellum will be promoting the mule to believe Gale is a threat. Oh, I've got a good theory on Tellum. Like, I've almost put out is Tellum Bond dead video 3 times, but every time I do it, they add something into the next episode. So I don't think she's dead. Like that, I pointed out in my video that blonde girl with the tattoo on her neck, which I think was identical to Tellum's. There's something about her, like they really focused on her quite a lot in that last episode for a reason. So I don't think Tellum's dead, and I'm going to have a video on that coming during the week. But Mr. Kilted, good to see you back in the chat as well. Who else we got? Ryan, John D, Vic, Irene. Hope you all had a good week, guys. Gerard, pleasure as always. Hope you're all subscribed to the channel. There we Give me a second. But let's start off then with the start. Is how did you all feel about that sort of explanation of how Harry came back again? I keep saying it. It's not a funny joke. It's not going to catch on. But yeah, it seemed like he was dead, and they kind of left him dead. And then what was that? 3 or 4 episodes down the line, they bring him back to kill Tellum, and then we find out that it was Gale doing this whole kind of telepathic. I don't know what would you call it, shroud joining. Because that's another thing I wanted to talk about in my review that I didn't really bring up, is that, you know, Harry and Gale now understand each other on a level that 2 normal people wouldn't, because they've shared a mind for all that time. So I think that's going to be interesting. Like, a comparison that I'm going to do in a video coming up is to the whole Dr. Donna thing, because that's what it reminded me of. Well, there's a few things that reminded me of Doctor Who this week, like that infinitely sized vault / TARDIS, but, you know, we're going to get to that, guys. Vic says a lot of rug pulls this season. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I think I'm going to have to rewatch the season as a whole. I'm going to do that over the next 2 days to do a full season 2 review. And I'll do a season 2 stream next week as well, so that'll be the final Foundation stream, just so we can go over it all. But yeah, definitely. I think I said it in the stream last week that one thing that pissed me off if they kept doing death fake outs, and they kind of have done it, but they kind of haven't, again, depending on your point of view. Ross says, I thought was great. Season 2, much better paced than season 1. Yeah, absolutely. One was a COVID show, though. Like, you can't really judge one fairly on what it was aiming to do. It was a really good bit of TV, but if it hadn't been for COVID, it probably would have been as good as season 2. And if you want to support the channel, guys, super chats are open. But if you don't want to give any money, that's fine. Just hit subscribe as well. Ryan Conway says TARDIS inverted. Yeah. Like, yeah, that was. As soon as I seen that and the episode ended, before it sort of jumped to the meal bit, I was, oh, they've just done the TARDIS and Doctor Who. They might even make a little joke out of that in season 3, but I don't think so. But what did you all think about then, going back onto topic, because we went off a little bit there, the death of Harry or the resurrection of Harry and the whole Gale telepathy thing? Telepathy, can't even say it, sorry. Were you a fan of how Harry came back again? Because one of the theories that I thought it might be, that a lot of people said that I don't think I put it in my video, was Imperial nanobots, but it turns out that's not the case. And we've still got a lot of questions about Harry as well, obviously. Like, how is he back? What was going on with Callie on Una's world? I think in one interview I watched, Goyer said that, I can't remember the actress that plays Callie, but she's going to be back in a recurring role. So I think that's going to be interesting to see. Sorry, I've not got any stills of the episode this week, guys. I didn't have time to do it, so we're just going to have to stick to the one, I'm afraid. Mr. Kilted says, as long as Harry is part of the Prime Radiant, technically Harry can't die. Only the memories that are not stored by the Prime Radiant will be lost. Yeah, absolutely true. A lot of good theories I've seen. I've come up with a lot of theories myself about what's going on with the Prime Radiant that Demerzel's got, because Harry wanted her to have it, but, you know, it seems like she took it from Day. So what's she going to do with that? Is there a version of Harry in it? You know, is it going to be used as like a listening device or something like that? What's Demerzel going to work out? How's she going to manipulate it? Because one thing, and I was thinking about this today, I was taking some notes on it, is without going into too much spoilers of the books, well, no, they've kind of said it in the show, Demerzel is tens of thousands of years old, and no matter how smart Harry is and how many versions of them there are, he's just a guy. So that's like thousands of... I mean, I know she was in a cage for like 5,000 or 6,000 years, but that's thousands of lifetimes worth of experience. So Demerzel might be a force that Harry sort of not can't anticipate, but I don't think he'd ever see himself going up against a robot or psychohistory. But again, going back to episode 8, he knew that there was something different about her. That's why he wanted her to have it and not Day. He didn't say it, but he didn't not say it. And from all the stuff I've seen, like the interviews and stuff online, Goyer hasn't really mentioned that I remember. But yeah, if you've seen any interviews or read anything anywhere where he has confirmed if Harry on Terminus knew that she was a robot, let me know. Because it would be interesting. Because it would change, once you know things and you know these big reveals come out, it changes how you review a scene that you've already watched. Ether says Harry's a cyborg. Welcome to the chat as well. Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the season 3 big arcs for, obviously, once, whatever point they decide to bring them out the pods. I think I've got a few different theories on what they're going to do with them. I think we're going to see dual timelines again. So I think we'll see Harry and Gale sort of time hopping through the decades or through the years, and that'll be one sort of story device, and then we'll see what's going on with Empire, because I don't think that when it gets to the whole Demerzel and the Cleons, it's going to be the same bunch of clones that were at the end of this episode. It might be the next one or two up. But I've got a couple of good ideas on the clones as well. We'll talk about it when we get to it. So Ross Hampton says, I don't know what Ignis Harry is, not a robot or cyborg, as was knocked out when first meeting the Mentals, and gets tired too quickly. Yeah, again, I think he, as I said in a video, he's a sort of copy of himself. So it's a sort of invasion of the body snatchers, but it's his own body kind of thing. So he's not a clone, he was just sort of grown. Because we don't know what other people have done or would do with the cloning technology as well. Because we've seen a lot of the Foundation use the Empire tech, like the jump drive and the auras, and I can't remember what else. So they've probably had some people look into cloning. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. Brodo Bear, welcome to the chat. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. It says, I hope they cover how Cleon engineered the thing that controlled Demerzel. See how he got the repair kit. Yeah, I'm doing a video on this about the end of Foundation, and now the fact that they've said that Earth is a thing in this story, it kind of sets up a goal for where certain storylines end. I'm trying not to reveal too much, but yeah, when Earth starts getting research in the books and people start looking into it, that's when big answers to big questions that you never knew you had get revealed. And there's a debate on the show about if there are characters already from the end of that point in the book that are already in the show, but I can't get into it without ruining it. So Mr. Kilwood says, I still believe an AI was used to do the calculations for psychohistory. When Harry died, his consciousness got uploaded into the Prime Radiant and thus created a sentient AI. Well, it's all part of a grand plan. We kind of seen the genesis of psychohistory in that flashback episode. What was that, 6 or 7? When we seen how he was charting the patterns of, was it birds or whatever it was on his planet, and then him going on to invent it. But yeah, can't get into anything like that if you've not read the books, because it's kind of spoilery. But the genesis of psychohistory does, and the ideas, alright, I'll phrase it this way, the ideas that influenced Harry, pay attention to what he says in the names of the scientists or the mathematicians, whatever you want to call them. Brodo Bear, this is a great point. There's an aesthetic similarity in the aesthetic of Demerzel and the Slices and the Radiant. Yeah, good point. I'll need to go back and look at that now. You've put a thought in my head. Especially when the Prime Radiant was dismantled. But what I thought was interesting was when Cleon found her, she was in pieces. And he never found out how she worked. She found out how he worked to manipulate him. She took him apart and he put her back together. Think about that. I thought that was quite an interesting point. Mr. Kilwood says, Earth equal history becoming legend, legend becoming myth, and then forgotten by most. Yeah, you're right. I can tell you that there's a reason that Trantor is the sort of main hub of humanity. But again, it depends what they're going to do with the show. They could go totally off the books. I always say it's what Marvel do, and they just adapt the ideas that they want from the comics and put it into the film and give it that film's name, which is fine. I've got nothing wrong with that. Because again, if you adapted the Foundation books directly, it'd be boring as hell. Absolutely boring. But welcome new folk into the chat. Seen a few new names even. Vic says, I think even he knew she was a robot the moment she stepped into the Prime Radiant. Yes, because as we find out at the end, I mean, that's got me onto a good point is seemingly, I might imagine they'll clear it up. Everyone on Terminus survived as a copy, is what I'm going to go with, or a digital version of themselves in the Prime Radiant. So Harry would need to be able to scan them in order to do that, so he'd be able to scan Demerzel. So I don't know if it was the second that he started talking to them outside the vault in episode 9, or it was the bit when they were inside the vault. But I don't know. I'll need to go back and watch that conversation, because the way that Harry wanted Demerzel to have the Prime Radiant, it made me think that he'd known for a while. So I don't know about that. But again, it all depends how you view the scene in the context and stuff. Rosshampton, that's heavy. Yeah, that was heavy. You're talking about the whole Cleon, her and Bits thing. Yeah, I'll keep meaning to put that in a video and I never remember to do it. Ryan says, I'm under the impression the robot never lost and they're the ones running even everything. Oh, yeah. Again, I know that there's issues with, or not issues with, but there's certain things that they can't use in the Foundation TV show that are in the books to do with the robotics in the robotics universe. That's to do with the Asimov estate or copyright or something like that. I remember David Goyer saying it in season 1 in interviews, but I've not heard him, or at least any that I've seen, I've not heard him say what they've got access to and what they've not. Because if he went, we've got access to X, Y, and Z, it would set up certain things that you know that are coming. But the fact that they mentioned the 3 laws of robotics in this season surprised me a lot. But it doesn't look as if they're going to get into the discussion of that or the effects of the laws of robotics, or the 4th law, which I'm going to do a video on, Zeroth law, which is the one that makes it really interesting, because when you find out what it is, you get a bit of a wider view of robots in this universe and in this story. But I said it in last week's stream, I'm sure. You've got to remember that Demerzel is 18,000 years old, so even if robots lost the war, let's use the old Star Wars comparison. When the Jedi got wiped out, there was still Jedi left. There was just, dozens of them or hundreds of them rather than thousands. So when the robots lost, they probably all didn't get wiped out. They probably had some human sympathizers. I mean, from what we know from Demerzel, they looked, or at least some of them could pass for human. So if there's been robots around for 18,000 years, 18,000 years, maybe a bit less than that, they would be more technologically advanced than Demerzel. They'd be able to blend in better. Think of it like the Terminators, the way that Kyle Reese described it is every Terminator, the version got better at blending in. So, there could be robots that survived the war and have maybe been manipulating things behind the scene. Maybe want to think about that. But again, try not to ruin anything from the books, because it's difficult. Christian says the movie studio that did iRobot owns the film rights to the robot series. Yeah, that's why I was shocked that they brought the 3 laws into it, because Goyer had said that they didn't really have the rights to it, and that would kind of tie the hands of some of the stories, or potential stories, if they adapt it from the book, because there's a robot character in the much later novels who appears in other Asimov novels and short stories. And if they ever say this character's name in Foundation, I'm not going to say the name on stream, but they ever say this character's name, but okay, this is how they're going to end it. I'm not talking last episode, last scene, I'm talking like this is the general direction they're going to take it in. Because they could go off, and we've still not got the bloody final Game of Thrones book, and we've got the TV show finale to go off of. Let's see what else is going on in the chat. Mr. Kilwood says in the Dune books, Earth was destroyed and its location forgotten 10,000 years later. Yeah, very similar to Foundation. I did take a poll last night, was it the night before, asking if you wanted me to do a comparison between Dune and the Foundation, and I'm going to do that. Because there is a lot. I even started writing a rough list just from pulling ideas out of my head without comparing anything. And it's a lot. I mean, you could just say the one main difference is there's no Paul Atreides in Foundation. Because everything else is pretty similar. But quite a few folk in the chat, so If I've not welcomed you already or I've not noticed, welcome. And where were we then? We were on the robot Harry. So yeah, a few theories. Cyborg, something else. Definitely going to be a big plot or a big plot line for season 3. So they need to get that out of the way. Because I thought they might tie it up. They might just all answer it at once in that scene in the beggar at the start. When they're revealing it, it's going, oh, you know, Gale helped me do this and I climbed up the rock and blah, 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 and we're swapping minds. And oh, by the way, I'm a robot. Like, you know, something like that. But sadly not. But let's cut to the scenes after that then. Oh, again, I don't have the photos, sorry about that. Just me talking about it. But they're on a planet full of telepaths. You know, Telom's dead. She jumps into the boy. The boy kills Salvor. So the boy's not the mule. Josiah, I always call him... Yeah, it's Josiah, that's the boy's name. I always get it mixed up. I always call him Joseph, but it's Josiah. We see him die, and he said that Telom is fading. But what if that's Telom saying that? Because she could jump bodies. Look, that's one of the reasons I kept putting my Is Telom Bond Dead video back. So I wanted to see what happened after she died. If they were going to suggest that she was in another body and we're going to directly see it. And we did directly see it, and we seen the boy die, but then there was a lot of focus on that blonde girl. A lot that, look, even when I watched the episode for the first time, it stood out to me how much focus or how much attention they were paying to that blonde girl. Because she's at the scene where they approach the ship and they get out the beggar. She's at the scene where Salvor and the boy die. Then she's heavily focused on at the scene when... she's at the scene just before Salvor dies as well. And then she's heavily focused on at Salvor's funeral. So they're definitely setting her up for something. Like, again, the same neck tattoo. Is it too obvious? Maybe, but I think we're going to see Telom Bond again. And we're going to get into the mule. Is Telom the mule? Oh, I hope not. I honestly hope not. Because it goes back to the whole thing that I've been saying the entire season, which is, does the fact that Gale seen the mule and told people create the mule, or if she hadn't have had that vision, would the mule always have had happened? That's very hard to say. And I think, yeah, don't do the whole we created a paradox thing, because it'll just ruin it, and then they can do it again. It's like, I'm willing to give them a pass on the death fake outs this year. I don't know why they done it, like, because it does create a certain sense of immortality for Harry's side, or potential immortality. But let's see, let's go to the chat. Gerard says, don't think Harry's a robot, otherwise why go into hibernation? Yep, definitely not a robot, or a very advanced one. Like I say, we're basing, or the most of the conversation around this seems to be basing what we know a robot is in this world, and at the moment that's Demerzel. But as I was saying earlier on, she's 18,000 years old. If there was robots kicking about, they would have advanced themselves. So, I mean, she's pretty advanced. She got half her fucking head chopped off and she repaired it in like an afternoon. They need to answer that question. How is she building herself half a head? Because with those tools, no, she's not building half a head with those tools. But anyway, that was just me going off on a little rant there. Timothy says, showrunner says at least 2 future extended flashbacks still planned for Demerzel in upcoming seasons. Good. Because as I said in a few of my videos, the stories that she told Cleon, we don't know if that was true, or she was just massaging them for Cleon's ego, or to keep his interest, or if they're half-truths or whatever. So, yeah, I think that they're limited by not having the full robot rights and stuff. It must be very tricky on what they can and can't do. Because again, if they said it, it would ruin... You know, if they said that we don't have the rights to certain things, it'd be like, oh, well, you're going to have to end the show very differently from the way the novels wrapped it up. So I think that's why they're not giving away too much. But it looks as if it's going to be the Mule season next season. So I wonder if it's going to pick up at the exact point that we've seen him at, the 152 years, or we're going to get a flashback episode on him. Mr. Kilted says, did Demerzel say she was the last robot, or did I pick this up somewhere else? The way that it generally gets said by, it's usually Day, is she's the last robot that we're aware of. So that's what they've left the door open. So yeah, I think there are other robots out there. Oh, let's see. Mr. Kilted from Wikipedia, Demerzel was created 6,370 years before the formation of the Galactic Empire. The robot war started in the year 7067. Era Imperial imprisoned for 5,000 years and released 600 years ago. So is that the Wikipedia for the show or the book? Because that would be interesting. The book might be a bit different, but I don't think it is. I think that's probably the book. Like, they wouldn't make that many changes, or why would you make any changes to the robot war stuff? That's another interesting thing about Demerzel in episode 9, is she kind of hinted, you know, that she was lost in battle, but she didn't say which side, if she was fighting for the human side or the robot side. We assume robots, but as we've seen, you can program their directives and stuff like that. Silicon Avatar says, do you think the mule is Dawn's son? Oh, interesting. The only reason I would say no on that is we don't know how the Metallic's ability works. We just assume it's spread through family. You know, they've not went, it's like X-Men where there's a gene or it happens to certain people on certain planets. So the fact that we know that the mule is going to be a big, powerful telepath or Metallic, and we've not seen any evidence of that from Seraph or Dawn, I would say no. But David Goyer has said that Seraph and Dawn's children will play a bigger part down the road. So whether that means a season or two, I don't think it'll be this season. But yeah, I wonder how they're going to... I said it at the start of the stream, I wonder how they're going to wrap the Seraph and Dawn thing up, because that's one time period, then you've got the 152 years, and then you've got, obviously, Harry and Gale time hopping. So yeah, I don't know where season 3 is going to open, to be honest. It all depends. The show Wikipedia that's from, right, brilliant. So we know what the dates for that. Yeah, I don't think it's going to let you post links in there, because I've had people actually try and post links in the comment section of my videos and the links don't work. Limited Light says Gaia. Yeah, so you've read the books if you know what Gaia is. Gaia is a very important thing. So when they're going to have to mention Gaia. It's not a person, I won't say that to ruin anything, but Gaia is a very important thing. Timothy, that's one thing that I was going to bring up. Constant being pregnant, child outlier, maybe, but more when you think about it, the whole future of the Foundation, I think, because I'm doing videos on parallels in the show, and one of them is Seraph and Constant, that they're both, well, we know that Seraph's pregnant, let's say Constant is pregnant, so they're both pregnant, and they're both sort of carrying the future, whereas Seraph's carrying the future of this new dynasty, Constant's kind of carrying the future of the new Foundation, along with what all these people or souls in the vault. That's a terrifying thing. Oh, I can't say it. That's a terrifying thought, is they're not digital copies. Harry's just found a way to trap their souls. They're just trapped in this vault for all eternity. That's terrifying. But yeah, I think Constant getting pregnant and those descendants, or her descendant in Hobor's, might be important, because I'm very surprised they killed off Hobor in this season. He does a lot more in the books over a longer period of time. But I guess from certain interviews that I've seen, it sounds like the next season is going to be seeing the build-up of the second Foundation and where they're at, and that sounds like it's going to be closer to a lot of the stuff in the books about building trade and stuff like that with different planets. But we're going to have to wait and see. Ross Hampton says, I think Current Dawn will have a civil war with his decanted version when they reach Day Age. This could bring down the Empire. What brought me to a good point is, now we've seen... Okay, so start this off. So where the episode ended with the clones is we've seen a new Dawn, Day and Dusk all get birthed, right? But we don't know what memories are they going to have. Is Demerzel going to tell them what happened between Dawn and Seraph? Because if she doesn't, she's going to have to cover it up, which will be a big thing. And if she does, is this information going to change the way that Dusk and Day treat Dawn? I mean, every Dawn could now be treated like an outsider, but then when you think about it, that goes against the very nature of the dynasty, because if Day and Dusk sort of, I'm just going to use the word bully, sort of bully Dawn because of what the one that escaped with Seraph done, every Dawn won't grow into the version of Day that he's supposed to, so that really changes the dynasty. I was thinking about that the other day, is are the other two clones going to treat Dawn differently now, and how's that going to affect Dawn, because Dawn's going to be the next Day. So yeah, that's interesting as well. Another thing, the state the dynasty is going to be in 152 years after another century and a half of these genetic changes and mutations. How different are these guys going to be? Are they going to be more different than the same? Mr. Kilwood says, I wonder if Escape Dawn will go to the Foundation to hide from Demerzel. I did think about that, but you've got to remember that Demerzel has got a much kind of more immediate problem on her hands, which is a fleet's been wiped out, and the Foundation has all the not all the jump ships, but Empire has been crippled by what happened at the end of episode 10. And Foundation seems to, they were giving away the auras, why wouldn't they be giving away the jump ships? And as I mentioned a moment ago, a big part of the Foundation novels and how the Foundation's built is like trade with other planets and rising to be a power that way. So, yeah, it depends what they do with the jump ships, but as well, and this is an interesting point, at least I think so, is what are the Spacers going to do? We all just assume that the Spacers have their freedom and they're now going to go off and explore space. What if some of them stay behind and decide to start a business? It'd be like the first guys that built the railway lines, or the first, British Airways or American Airlines or that kind of thing. So I hope they do that with the Spacers, actually. I think that'd be interesting to see how they sort of turn their slavery and existence into a business. But we're going to have to wait and see. I thought the Spacers would play a much bigger part. Well, they did play a big part, but I have much more time in this episode, or at least the last two episodes, which sadly we didn't. Mr. Kilwood says, I'm pretty sure the memories of the clones have been modified to suit Demerzel's purposes. Demerzel is busy with controlling information like any dictator would. Ryan, I think Dominion are powerful, so they'll go there for safety. Dominion's the obvious choice, but it's also the obvious one that you wouldn't go to, because we don't know. That's an interesting thing. We don't know if Dawn knows about what happened on Terminus with the fleet. So assume that he does know. Empire's still going to have jump ships that can go and, attack Cloud Dominion. The same way they attacked, was it Anacreus or Thespis in the first season, in the first few episodes. So, Empire does have ships. It's just a matter of what's going on with the Spacers, because they're the ones that they still need. Excuse me, guys. But yeah, I hope they do focus a little bit more on the Spacers in Season 3, but I highly doubt so. But yeah, I don't think Seraph and Dawn are going to go to Cloud Dominion because they'd make it a target. I don't think they're... And Dawn doesn't know enough about the Foundation to seek that out. But, maybe down the line, the Foundation knows that Dawn's out there, so they seek him out. Because that's another thing, as I was saying, is... What is Demerzel going to do? Is she going to make it public that this guy has taken off and got some girl pregnant? Because that's a new dynasty. That's another thing that... This could be the thing that splits the dynasty. Because when you have two Dawns potentially running about at the same time... So what do you think? Do you think Demerzel is going to keep it quiet, or do you think she is going to go on a full manhunt and be like, this isn't the true king? Just having a look through the chat. Vic says, unless Dee took the scientists from Terminus with her back to Trantor. Maybe. Someone did say that, what about the scientists? I think this was in the comments. And then someone else replied that, they would have been part of the fleet that were destroyed. So maybe Demerzel took them, but what I'd say, Vic, is we seen the last scene with Demerzel, she seemed to be trying to figure out psychohistory, and we know that, not Dominion, the Cleons have had a crack at it because they spent 40 years trying to do it in the first season, or they had guys trying to do it for 40 years that they couldn't do it. So I think, again, I hope they get into this, but the android or the robot mind would be more complicated than ours and look at things differently. So how Demerzel interprets the information, I hope they do something with that. But let's talk about the big one then that we didn't really talk about, or I just kind of skipped over. Salvor's death, how do you feel about that? Because I've got to be honest, I'm not glad that they've done it, but Salvor just kind of felt like an extra leg, you know, this season, that she was just getting dragged and they didn't really do anything with her at all. I think I'm planning a video for a full season 2 review of, like, you know, the good and the bad points, and definitely that's going to be one of the bad points, is they didn't give Salvor anything to do this season. Gerard says, going back to Demerzel, I think she'll keep it quiet but keep searching for Dawn and Seraph. I think that's probably likely, but as always, depends on the time jump. Vic says people are going to ask questions. Yeah, but those guards, a few people have said this, I've seen it on Reddit, I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it in my own comments, that the way that the palace guards respond to Demerzel, like, they weren't questioning her at all. So I wonder if they're going to explain that as well. George says again, they were foreshadowing it all season. Yep. Mr. Kiltwood Salvor's not my favourite character. I'm glad she got a good exit from the show. I would agree. When I watched Foundation for the first time when it was on a few years ago, Salvor was the character that I enjoyed the least. But then when I binged watched it back, I enjoyed her a lot more. But the thing I'm disappointed in is they didn't explore the whole mother-daughter thing with her and Gale. They didn't really put any effort in to get to know each other. They didn't really do anything with Salvor's abilities. You know, it all hinged on Gale's abilities at the end. I mean, the most interesting thing when you think about it that they've done with her is they had her fight the guy pretending to be Hugo a few times. That was it. So, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm glad they killed her, but for the sake of the story, I understand it, and obviously they're proving that, you know, history's not set or the plan's not set and things can be changed. So I completely get that point. But I wish that they'd done more stuff with her. Because it seemed that she had a lot to do in season... by the standard, she had way more to do in season 1 than she had to do in season 2. And one thing we need to see in season 3, which I think is going to be hard because they're stuck together in those bloody sleeping pods, is we need to see Gale interact with more characters that aren't Harry, because she only got Salvor and Tell and Bond. Season 1, she was always with Harry apart from episode 1. And I think she only wasn't with Harry for about 5 minutes. But yeah, we need to see Gale interact, other characters, talk to them, hear their thoughts, her, you know, have them react to her react to them, whatever. Vic very cold-bloodedly says, Salvor finished serving her purpose. Kill her. So I didn't mean to read it in that voice. Let the Empire do it. I'm looking forward to seeing the actress that plays Salvor in other stuff, though, because I've not seen her. Look, that's a good point. I've said this about the show before. It's a good thing that they get these young actors in that haven't really done a lot, but then when you look at their IMDb, you're kind of like, yeah, there's nothing that you've done that I can really go out my way to watch. Like, bit of a shame, but I suppose we'll go into bigger things. Limited Light says, I think Demerzel will eventually follow the path in the books, but the rest seems quite open. Thank you. The way that you phrase that, Limited Light, I greatly appreciate it, because it's one reason that I never done a Silo live stream, is you would have people posting spoilers quicker than I can delete them. So the way that you phrased that, genius, chef's kiss. So, oh, I'm dying to ask a question now, but I'll give something away. So, Limited Light, I'm asking you a specific question. Do you think the man on the moon is already in the show? If you know what I mean by that, the man on the moon. Kilted says Salvor Patrol of the Perimeter is over. You put that in a t-shirt, that's really good. I went to Ignis and all I done was patrol this lousy ship. And she didn't because the ship got nicked, or she thought the ship got nicked. But yeah, I think an issue the show did have this season was too many characters as well. Too many spinning plates. Because you had all the Cleon stuff, you had the Seraph, you had Rue, you had Belle, you had Belle's husband, you had Constant, you had Constant's parents, you had, Constant's dad that was the director, you had Polly, who they didn't really focus on the way I thought they were going to focus on. I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that Polly was an underused character as well. I get that they were just playing the idea that here's this guy that's been around since day one and literally seen it all and is now just this grizzled, not bitter but worn out old guy, whereas Constant is, the young believer that has never seen anything but just his faith. And I liked those scenes, but I would have liked more of that chat between them. But I'm very glad that Constant survived. Did Demerzel hire blind assassins as she knew sighted assassins with a better chance of success? Yes. Oh, Limited Light thinks the Man in the Moon is in the show. Interesting. I think the Man in the Moon's in the show. But yeah, if you've not read the books, that'll make no sense. Timothy says Salvor served a single purpose. Free Gale by communicating with Harry in a way that she was specifically warned against. Death anticlimactic. Yeah, out of all the death fake outs, they make hers the one permanent one. Interesting, I think. I would have killed a few more people. I mean, we've not even spoke about Belle and Hobor. Like, they've got to be dead. They're not going to carry them over, are they? Limited Light says just that I think the Man in the Moon was already who he was for millennia, whereas here it's a path that will be found. Right, yeah, 100% agree with you, and I'd love to talk to you more about that, but I'd need to talk about book spoilers, and I don't want to do that. Ether said Empire is supposed the genetic code of the Cleons. Demerzel is programmed not to harm a Cleon, aka Empire, yet she harms them all at will to protect Empire. It seems sloppy. Well, like I said, there's another law of robotics called Zeroth Law. And I'm doing a video on this, the 4 laws, and Zeroth Law is, without ruining it or getting into it too much, is a law that would allow a robot to harm a human in the greater good of humanity. If that makes sense. So that's how we're able to see Demerzel kill. Plus, Cleon did give her the new set of directives. But they've not really went back to who... I said this in last week's stream as well, I think. They've not really went back to who contaminated the clones originally. So was it Demerzel to break this program? Because if she's 18,000 years old, waiting a couple of centuries till these guys are no longer, genetically recognisable Cleon would be nothing to her. Mr. Kiltley PR is the Man in the Moon theory. Grabs fault. No, I can't talk about the Man on the Moon because it'll ruin a video I've got coming up, but it'll ruin potentially the entire show. Limited Light says wonderful sale of the books has been going up. Yeah, I don't buy books online. I tend to buy them in bookshops if I can, so I don't pay attention to online stuff. But certainly when the first season was out, there was a whole table of Asimov stuff, like Foundation and all the robotic stuff. I might go back and read the robotic stuff. I gave it a shot when I was a kid, but I couldn't really get into it. But yeah, I've got a video coming on the 3 laws and the 4th law as well. And when you find out what the 4th law is, it changes everything. Although I kind of just explain it. But yeah, no one seems particularly bothered that Salvor died. So I suppose that's okay. But yeah, she wasn't the most riveting character. But yeah, as I was saying, I think that's maybe a symptom of the show, that there's too many characters in it this season. That's why I did think they had killed everyone on Terminus. Oh, Ban from Mojito's in the house. Have you been in here all the time, Ban from Mojito? Let's see. Banfamito said, I thought there would be some other robots hiding in plain sight. Hints or reveals. Maybe there was. Or maybe there will be. I definitely think Callie's a robot. I've got a big theory on that, but it's why I kind of want to go back and read the Asimov robot stuff. Because I know some of it blends into Foundation, I know some of it doesn't, and I can't remember what does carry over and what doesn't. Because it's all like these shared universes, but not shared stories. But yeah, then, okay, let's go back a little bit and talk about Tellum. Is she dead? Give me a Y in the chat if you think she's dead, or give me a no, or an N if you think she's still alive. I'm not saying she's going to pop up next season, you know, she could pop up 100 years later on, but that creepy blonde girl. They just focused so much on her. She has to be, or she has, excuse me, at the very least got to be connected to something. So Vic says yep. Gerard says yep. Ross says, can you imagine if Apple cancelled the series? Kilted, Apple won't cancel the series. They have their own version of Game of Thrones money. True. Be interested to see what's going to happen with this whole Godzilla King Kong show, though. Because Apple has these critical hits, like these kind of prestige hits, like HBO used to have. I suppose HBO still does have, but it's, other than Ted Lasso, it's not had this big breakout hit, which I think's odd. So I think the Monsterverse show, or Monarch show even, I'll never remember the bloody name of it. Monarch is going to be like Apple's first crossover, because it's its first franchise as well, because Apple didn't start it. It's these movies that have been around for the last 8 or 9 years. So I'm really interested to see what that Monarch show is going to do for Apple Plus. But yeah, I agree, it won't get cancelled, at least not for season 3, because we're getting that. Limited Light, I think Tellum could have jumped into the girl that was next to Harry and Josiah. Yep, it's that creepy blonde girl. Vic says if Tellum's still alive, I'll riot. What if she's the mule? We could be here all day talking about it. Is Tellum the mule? Is Tellum not the mule thing? Ban from Hito missed the question. Is Tellum dead? Did she jump bodies? Because the way that Josiah died, he said, oh, I feel Tellum fading. But Tellum's smart enough to say that. And again, they just focused on that blonde girl so much. Irene says, I think Tellum is done, but who knows for sure. Limited Light, is the Invasion series any good? I couldn't get into it. I watched about 3 or 4 episodes and couldn't get into it. I know a few other people that have said the same, but hey, it's up to you. I'd recommend For All Mankind, which I've started rewatching so I can review it. I forgot how good that show is. It's just, brilliant. So yeah, For All Mankind reviews are going to be coming because we got a teaser for it this week. I think it's November 14th or something like that comes out. Irene says Goyer wants 4 or 6 seasons at least. Yeah. It depends on how far ahead they want to jump, because I'm not getting into spoilers for the books, but there's more than 2 crises, put it that way. There are several big crises. Gerard says blonde girl was just the one that all the metallics seemed to look at as the leader, and maybe she was the one Tellum was going to use as a new body. I think Tellum's in that blonde girl. Ban from Hito says nope, Tellum will come back. Vic says I'm just starting The Expanse. You're lucky. If you've never seen The Expanse, stick with it. I think it's the best sci-fi show that's been made in the last 10 years, maybe 20. But The Expanse, just phenomenal. 6 seasons. I wish I had my channel when The Expanse was on, because I love that show. I've watched it so many times. It's unbelievable. The first season's a little slow, but then after that, it's like, without ruining it, it takes you in directions that you don't see coming and just completely blows your mind. like, and it feels so realistic. It's like all the politics and stuff. Let me know once you've watched it and we can do an Expanse stream, because I'd love to sit and talk about it, but I'm not going to ruin it for you. Yeah, Mr. Kilton says The Expanse is good. Irene says, oh my god, it's so good, what an adventure. Yep. Yeah, I'm so jealous of Vic that you get to rewatch The Expanse from the start, not knowing anything. One of the co-creators of The Expanse and one of the stars of it, the guy that plays Amos, Wes Chatham, and Ty Frank, who co-wrote the novels, they've got a YouTube channel called Ty and That Guy. Worth checking out, but don't check it out until you've watched the show, because they talk about the show all the time in it. They started doing it as an Expanse podcast, and then they just started talking about films and TV shows they like, kind of like this, so I better get back to talking about the Foundation. Well, yeah, I'm going to do an Expanse. I might do Expanse reviews then, because definitely a lot of interest in it, and I only came to the show when season 4 was on, so I got to watch 5 and 6 before it got cancelled. But yeah, look, Breaking Bad, it's one of those shows that just drew me in, and I watched it religiously. But anyway, let's get back to talking about Foundation. We can talk about The Expanse at another time. Where are we? So let's talk about the whole Demerzel Dusk Rue thing then. I mean, yeah, that kind of had to only end the one way, but how is she covering up Rue's murder? Because going back to the whole, is she on an active manhunt for Seraph and Dawn, or is she going to cover it up? What's she going to do about Rue? Because that's interesting. Oh, The Expanse is for sale on Apple iTunes. Interesting as well. But yeah, what do you think Demerzel is going to do about Rue and Cloud Dominion? Because, I mean, if Seraph and Dawn don't go back to her planet or her kingdom, whatever you want to call it, you know, those people are going to be looking for the ruler. Or do you think she just whacked them all? I'm definitely going to be reviewing The Expanse because it's all you guys are talking about. Oh, bring it back, but don't. Vic says, why at least didn't we see their bodies on the floor? Yeah, got some thoughts about that. Like, they're definitely dead. They're not going to bring them back. She wouldn't have just knocked them out. That'd be stupid. And we did see her decant a new Dusk. So he's dead, but it's more the whole Rue thing. But I don't know, I think it was maybe given the... I don't know how Apple or streaming works in terms of ratings, but it was maybe something to do with the bloodiness of it, because remember you had the whole fight between Day and Belle that was pretty bloody, so maybe it was a blood thing, I don't know. This show doesn't really do like the hardcore Game of Thrones violence. Although one thing I will say is this season has felt, excuse me, or at least has given me the feeling of when Game of Thrones was getting into its swing. And I know that there's directors on the show and writers on the show that have worked for Game of Thrones, so I guess that's why. Gerard says, who's cleaning the dungeon? Yeah, I did think about that as well. I just thought in the future they'll probably develop anti-dust nanites or something like that. Jesus, that's what I thought as well. When I was watching that scene, I was like, "Oh, it's very clean." No, but then there'd be no dirt in it because most dust is skin. Vic says maybe she'll use Rue to make a clone of her. I don't think so. I think with the time jumps, it'll probably just get mentioned away in a couple of lines or two. Again, it depends on where the Cleonic dynasty is going to be in terms of the story and the time jumps, and which version of the clones we're going to get, and if she told them. It's all going back to if she told them or not. It seems a lot of people were wondering about the dust in the dungeon. Yeah, I think it's got to be like some technology that we don't see, because we never see them hoovering anything. It's a huge bloody palace. But also that scene where I mean, she done it twice. She done it when she was talking to Dusk before she killed him, and she done it when she was talking to Dawn. And I mentioned it in my video, is you can see Demerzel have genuine emotion. Like, it breaks through. It's upsetting her that she's got to go along with this programming. And that is super interesting. Because the fact that she can experience emotion, like genuine emotion, she's not imitating it. Like, things that we're seeing affect her, that opens a lot of doors for what's going on with her and what was going on with robots in the past. I wonder if they're going to get into that, like, how much they're going to get into the robot stuff. Because it's very... You could do a lot of seriously interesting things with that. We're getting very focused on the dust in the cell now. I feel we're going down some very... So about the programming, Vic says, I'm so sick of her using that as a cop-out to excuse her shitty behaviour. She can't break her programming. She can't, she can't do it. That's the prison that she's in that Cleon put her in. That's what makes Cleon 1 such a bastard that I've done a video about. The fact that he's such a top shit. Is that he just could have went, hey, stay with me till I die, then look after the first batch of clones and whatever, pop in, but nope. He had to trap her. I hope everyone's subscribed to the channel, as always, guys. If you want to support as well, the super chats are open and always appreciated. Mr. Kittle says, Demerzel has been interacting with humans for thousands of years. She could have been emulating feelings. You're 100% right, but the bits where she emotes, there's no reason for her to do it for a reason of betrayal. Like, when Cleon let her out the cell in episode 9, you can see that she was shocked because she didn't expect it, and she didn't have to do that. And she didn't have to fake emotion when she was killing Dusk. She could have just went as part of a program and killed him. So it's the fact that she doesn't want to do certain actions and her emotions are bleeding through, but not enough to override the programming. Jared says, great acting from Laura Byrne. That's how you pronounce that, I think, Byrne. She looked so conflicted but strained to maintain control. Yeah, phenomenal actress. Phenomenal. The way that she does the Demerzel performances. I wonder if she gets a sore back standing in that position all day. Because she always holds her hands out like that. Like, I don't know. Weird things that you think about. Dust in cells and actresses' posture. Timothy says she enticed Cleon hoping for freedom, so his sexual insecurity is kind of on her. Yeah. Plus you're banging a robot. Does Demerzel water containers produce tears? No, I mean, again, I don't know how much they're going to get into how robots work, because they never got into it there, and that's a kind of good thing about the show, is they never explain how any of the technology in this world works. If you want a canoe, throw a drum into a bit of water and it'll come out. You've got, I love the effect that they done on Azura and Seraph for the face mask thing when it goes over it. Star Trek have done that as well. I love that sort of nanite tech face mask thing. I think that's cool. But yeah, they never explain the process of what they do to make the spacers a spacer, or how jump drives work, other than the fact you need a spacer. This show doesn't go into that, so I think some answers with regards to how robots are constructed, but hopefully not how they evolve, are going to get left out. I hope we're going to find out how they evolve. Let's see what else have we got. Mr. Kelted agreed the most likely option is Demerzel has feelings. Yep, she would have to. Like, if she's 18,000 years old, she'd learn to emulate people no problem at all, but she'd also learn to control her emotions too. So it's the fact that it's the big question of, is a robot sentient, conscious, whatever you want to call it, and how does that work? I don't think they're going to go down that road yet. Vic says just let her walk in the spiral. Like, come on, her walking the spiral is what kind of sacrifice? She's a robot. Going back to what I was saying earlier on about what she was telling Cleon, might not be the truth. I mean, I think she was there, but if whoever it was posted the Wikipedia link, I think it was Mr. Kilted, check for me how old was Luminism, because I'm sure Demerzel's older than Luminism. I think Luminism was 15,000 years old, or maybe 5,000 years old. They mentioned it in the first season, but she's been around long before Luminism, and yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't do a bit more with Luminism this year, but then if they'd done that, they couldn't have focused on the Church or the Foundation. Because I thought from season 1, what I was seeing with Demerzel and Luminism was going to play a much bigger part in things to come. Again, I'm trying to say something without saying it, because it's spoilers for the body books. But Limited Light, if you're still in the chat, did you think Luminism was going to be connected to anything bigger down the line? Just interested what someone that's read the books thinks. So Vic says 15,000 years old. So yeah, Demerzel was around long before Luminism. And maybe, I'm not saying I know this for a fact, and I'm not saying that it's in the books, but maybe Demerzel had a hand in creating Luminism. Just kind of worth thinking about. With the robots, Robot Wars about recognising their personhood. That's alright, Limited Light. I just wanted to know if you thought that Luminism was going to be part of anything bigger down the line. I'm trying to say it without saying it. Not sure. Okay. Robot, more human versus humans losing humanity. Demerzel wants her freedom. Yeah. They didn't. I don't think they really done that for me. Or they've not done it yet. Is the whole are robots more human than human kind of thing. And I'll keep saying it, but it goes back to what they've got access to with regards to the Asimov estate and certain stories, because they all they're not all the same story, but certain stories, certain characters cross over from stories and stuff like that. Right, okay, let's see. Timothy makes a good point. I've got a video coming about this. Almost every character has been in shackles. Demerzel's hands in shackle position, which she realises her directive is to love him. She's trapped in a different way. I think it was Susanna, who's also in the chat, mentioned it last week. I'm doing a video on this. The Prisoners of Foundation. That's one of the big themes of season 2 that I noticed is people being restrained, trapped, prisons, as in literal prisoners in a cell, but also prisoners of like a cycle. Lot of that in this season. Don't want to say too much because again we've got a video coming out on it. I think it's going to be quite a long one because I'm still writing it. But yeah, prisons and restrictions and rules, definitely a big theme for this season. Mr. Kilted says, I think the general theme of the show is about stagnation versus progression. Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's the fall of Rome in space, essentially. And that's one thing about the show that I'm not really hugely a fan of either, is they don't lean into any one thing. Like, they don't lean into explaining robots too much. They don't lean into explaining the plan too much. They don't lean into any sort of internal strife and empire too much. I think it could be a little bit more focused sometimes on the story rather than the characters. But that's just my point of view. But yeah, I do agree, and I made a video about why the Cleonic Dynasty was always going to fail, and that was stagnation. It's if you have the one person essentially always running the show, the society around them is going to change, but their point of view of that society won't change. So it'd be, imagine having like Abraham Lincoln president during the Vietnam War. How would he have reacted to that kind of thing? Wouldn't have been ready for it. The Mighty Shabba, welcome as always. Hope you had a good week. As soon as something thinks for itself and tries to preserve it's sentient, whether we like it or not. Yeah, could be something to do with the robot wars. Zana says all types of prisons. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of themes in this show this season. Obviously, the one at the end being sort of determinism and stuff like that. But for me, the prison one I noticed straight away. In fact, I started writing the video about it about halfway through the show, and I just wanted to see how it was going to go. So this has been going for just over an hour, guys. So as usual, I'll wrap it up around the 2-hour mark. But still got a lot to talk about. So let's get on to then the big one. The finale. What happened on Terminus with the fleet. I knew those fucking armbands were going to come in back that Belle mentioned in the last episode. They set that. That's what I'm saying about focus on what they focus on. They set that up so obviously. That was quite an obvious one. But yeah, let's talk about Day's freakout, where he wants to go on the rampage and destroy the Foundation, and he makes Constant list off all the planets. That's another criticism of this episode, and the fact they've got too many characters in the show. Constant got nothing to do in the last 2 episodes. And she, one of my favourite characters this season. Didn't think I was going to like her, but yeah, Constant at times was only useful when she was useful. But hopefully we'll see her going forward. But yeah, what did you think about the whole bit where Day was freaking out and going off on one? Oh, excuse me, guys. Technical difficulties. Vic, why does she have the blue eyes? You mean Constant? It's because her dad is... One of her parents are Thespian, or it's... Basically, she's part Thespian, part Anacreon, and one of those races, I can't remember which one, has those coloured eyes. Because the actress in real life... I was looking at it a while ago. I was looking at her IMDb page. I think she's got brown eyes in real life, but I might be wrong about that. The Mighty Shabba says I was annoyed with the body swap. I get it and it makes sense, but it annoyed me. Yeah, again, felt like it was kind of forced in quickly. Ban from Mojito said what happened with Hobor's shadow jump ship even. Good point. I've done a script for every ending, and I don't know if I'm going to do a bunch of individual videos or one big one about how it all ended, but Hobor's jump ship was on the Destiny when it was destroyed, so they could have used that to escape. The way that I remember it is we seen them sitting together, and then it cut to another scene, and then it cut back, and you seen a ship explode, and then it cut to Demerzel on Trantor looking at what was going on, so you didn't actually see them die. But if they bring them back, that's the 5th fucking fake out death, so let's not do that. Rosshampton says Old Man Cleon first brought Relic created on Earth. Does that mean he knows where Earth is? It means someone does, and that's going to be important. The second that he showed her that box and mentioned Earth, I was like, oh, okay, we're going in a certain direction now. I know, and I've got a rough idea of where we're going. It's set, as I mentioned earlier on the stream, it's set a destination point for the story, because people in the book, like, I'm trying to talk about this without talking about it. Earth plays a big part, but not the big part that you would think. Mr. Kiltwood, I love the wine scene a lot. You're about to die, ships blowing up around you, and a good moment to talk about wine. See, the only reason, or not the only reason, but one of the few reasons that I think they might still be alive is they're a great pair. Like, that, whatever it was, that 3-minute, that 5-minute scene was pretty solid. So, you know, I could see them teaming up to help Seraph and Dawn, but it all depends on the time jump. Vic says on Goyer's blog he posted a portion of the script that they couldn't shoot due to budget constraints. I was reading that literally 5 minutes before I came on this stream, so I've not finished reading it yet. But yeah, I'm going to go back and check that out. Vic, it's on my phone. I don't know if it's worth doing a video or not. I highly doubt it, because I'm going to wrap up the Foundation videos in the next week. So I'm basically going to do what I've been doing this week. Try and post a video every day. And then we'll do a Season 2 overall stream next Sunday. And then, I don't know what. I'll do Raised by Wolves, but I won't be able to do daily videos on that, so it's a little bit annoying. But yeah, you've given me a few lists or a few ideas of shows that you've want me to cover, guys. So Raised by Wolves, definitely. For All Mankind, definitely. One that I really wanted to do was Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, but the only place you can get it is to buy it off YouTube, and it's £30, and I was like, no way. I'll get it somewhere else somehow at some point. Timothy says illusion is a huge theme. What you think you're seeing and what you're actually seeing. Yep. The Mighty Shabba says it's getting boring. What do you mean? Like all the fake out deaths? The wine scene. Oh no, Mighty Shabba says the wine scene was great, so it's not all that boring. Mr. Kilted says, I hope the crew of all the ships survived and are on the vault. That was a lot of people for a small settlement. Yeah, but I think they said, I might be making this up, I'm sure they said that there was 10,000 people on Terminus. I'm sure there's a line somewhere in the second season that might be constant who says something like, oh, there's 10,000 people on Terminus. But that's another complaint I've got of this season, is we didn't see more of life on Terminus. Like, that kind of bothered me quite a bit. I would have liked at least half an episode, maybe even an episode set there. Ross says, Bell shuffling around in Day's chainmail. Yeah, that was quite funny. Susanna says, Humans, cool British remake on robots. Yeah, I watched Humans. Really enjoyed that. A lot of good actors in that as well. Because what's her name? It's the first thing that I'd seen her in as well. The British actress that is in Black Panther, whose name completely forgets me, but that's the first time that I've seen her in Humans, and I was like, I need to keep an eye on her. And then like 2 or 3 years later, she was in Black Panther. Can't remember her name. I can remember the other two actresses in Black. Denai Guerrera and Lupita Nyong'o, and I can't remember the third actress's name. That's terrible. But yeah, Humans was a good one. I'm surprised you've actually heard about that, because it wasn't a mega hit, certainly not here in the UK. Mr. Kilwood says Doctor Who TARDIS is bigger on the inside. Yeah, it's exactly what I thought about the vault as well, but we'll get to the vault in a minute. But going back to that day scene, the whole bit with the spacers, like, I get that scene where Hobor reveals the plan is like, the deck of cards, or the dominoes getting knocked over and all the plans falling into place, but it just felt like it was all super rushed and a little bit convenient. The Mighty Shabba says Sarah Connor Chronicles is actually quite good. Not great, but good. I think it's the best Terminator sequel since Terminator 2, but we'll talk about Sarah Connor Chronicles at another time. But yeah, I was a little bit unhappy with the whole, let's say, dominoes falling over nature of the planet. It all seemed a little bit, I don't want to say convenient, but yeah, it did feel convenient, I've got to say that. But what did you guys think when the whole plan was revealed with the Hobor spacer mark and then the spacers sort of turning on day, which I said would happen? I think I said that would happen in my spacer video. What did you think about that? Did you think Harry's plan paid off? Do you think it was a worthy payoff? I suppose is a better way of putting it. Because the more I rewatch it, episode 10 was good, but the problem with that is episode 9 was fantastic. Episode 9 was probably, I would say, to be very arrogant, most people's favourite episode of Foundation. Vic says, how are you going to save Galwin but let Bell die? If he is dead, as I said a few minutes ago, they could have used that jump ship, they could have got scanned by the vault, but if they were scanned by the vault, why weren't they there at the end? Because I've got a video on that, I've got loads of notes on this actually, Vic, about what they could have done, so I think it's probably the jump ship. They would have realised that. They're two very smart guys. Now Spacers of Harry to thank. Yeah, I suppose so. What's the question, Limited? Like, the question was, do you think the reveal of the sort of domino nature of the plan, the bit where Hobor says, well, we've actually set this up so your fleet will be here and you think you've won and we'll blow your ships up, kind of thing. Do you think that payoff was worth it for 9 weeks, 10 weeks, I suppose? Susanna says, as in fight scenes, Game of Thrones, so life on Terminus. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Limited light, good point. Maybe Glaywin, I always call him Galwin. Glaywin carries on Bell's principled stance. Maybe, depends what nature, how they're, I suppose, how they're alive in the vault, how are they there. Because one good point to make about them being copies is when Constance's dad shows up at the end, he's still got his injury from when they stabbed him on the planet. So, is he real? Are they real? Are they copies? Is it just it copied exactly the way that he thought he was when he died? They better explain that. Humans based on Swedish sci-fi drama. I've only watched the British version. I didn't know there was a Swedish version of Humans, Susanna. I'm trying to think of any actors that were in Humans to make sure we're talking about the right show. But oh, Gemma, what's her name? Another Marvel actress, Gemma Chan, that was in The Eternals. She was in Humans. That was the first thing I seen. No, it wasn't the first thing I seen her. I seen her in Doctor Who, but she was in that. Not a great actress though, at least in my opinion. She Ben's Light was a little bit anti-Empire from the first conversation we have with her. With Bell, so gave us a lot of clue about how Spacers felt about the Empire. Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm sure I said it in one of my videos about the importance between mother and daughter on the two ships, but they could have just done that a lot more. They could have done more to set that up. It just felt like they were doing, hey, remember this? Remember this? We're doing it. We're doing this. I wasn't a big fan of it. Rosshampton says the vault has more uses than a Swiss Army knife. Does the food in it provides have a choice of menu and take into account dietary requirements? Oh, it can restructure molecules so you can have whatever you want. Krishna says the Fort Bell Rios fleet was one of many fleets of the Empire, not the entire fleet. Yes, you're right, but with all the spacers now not being on board with what Empire wants to do, there's, I wouldn't say they're effectively stranded. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be able to get some spacers to. I'm going to use the word cooperate. They're going to fucking torture them to cooperate somehow. But imagine going from like. I'm trying to think. I can't even think of a comparison. There's no comparison I can think of in the real world that would work for this. Imagine if, look, every airline in the world, so imagine all the commercial airlines that exist in the world, which is probably, hundreds of flights a day, thousands of flights a year, are then cut back to a dozen flights a year. Like, it would cripple you. Like, I've got in my notes about this that the way that I phrase it is, actually, I'll just go back to my notes, is imagine if every truck driver, every pilot, and every sailor decided that they didn't want to work. Trade would stop in our world because we rely so heavily on food. Just food alone, the export and import of food that a lot of countries rely on. And that's not even before you get to stuff like electronics and technology. So the fact that they've still got some ships left that are jump capable, probably, bit of a threat, but when the Foundation can jump in and out of wherever they want, it gives them a huge advantage in trade and communications and warfare and surveillance. Everything is just amped up for the Foundation and dialed right down for the Empire. Gerard says time passes differently in the vault, so could some of these characters still be around next 150 years? Probably. I mean, if they're not direct copies, As in if they're not flesh and blood copies, if they're some sort of energy copy or hollow Harry copy, then yeah, absolutely. I don't think the Vault could manifest like a human being though. But as always, we're going to have to wait and see. Ban from Mojito makes a great point even. Excuse me, what was Demerzel doing with her hands when she was watching the demise of the Empire fleet? Something with her bracelet. She has done that since season 1. And I have rewatched the show and paid attention to all the times that she's done it. So the bracelet is from Luminism. I can tell you that. And she does it every time it seems that she's stressed or that something doesn't go to plan. Because I was just saying, the Imperial fleet was destroyed, so now they've not got any ships that can go anywhere. We don't even know if they've got any ships around Trantor. So that's why she's, twiddling with her bracelet. Whether it's got anything to do with her faith. There's a few theories. One, it's just her faith, so it's like she's touching it the way like a Catholic or a Christian would touch prayer beads. Maybe it's just superstition. Maybe, we can mostly agree that she has emotion, so maybe it's anxiety that she's getting out, like a tick or a twitch. Maybe it's a signal to somewhere else. We don't know. But she definitely does it every time something doesn't go right. She's done it, I've not got a list, but I think she's probably done it at least 6 times in the 2 seasons. Vic says, yeah, it's kind of like when someone grabs a cross they were wearing. Yeah, same things I was saying. But it's all, hopefully, I think, tied into Luminism. If they bring Luminism back in the 3rd season, then that'll back up my theory, but not worth spending a few hours making a video about, so we'll just talk about it in the chat. Ban from Mojito says, I like Brother Constance and that we as an audience still don't know her real name, not even revealed with scenes with her fathers. Yeah, I think I read tonight that Goyer said it actually might have been in that blog that Vic was talking about for On Live, they said they're never going to reveal it. Because I did wonder that if she had a real name, or, it was Constant and they just added brother to it, but yeah, I'm not particularly bothered about her name, for being honest. Not one of the great mysteries of the Foundation, but I know what people like to bring it up. Wonder what would have made her adopt something spiritual / religious. Well, she grew up hearing these legends. Well, imagine you grew up somewhere and they went, yeah, like, see this guy you think was dead? He's not dead. He came up with this plan and, like, people seen this plan work, and he says that we're going to do the next stage of the plan. We've just got to wait for him to come back so we can do the next stage of the plan. Like, literally, Polly, the guy that she spends most of the season with, seen this as a kid, so if you knew someone that had seen something so extraordinary that, it changed their life like that, that's where the faith came from, I think. I did wonder what they were going to do with the whole Church of the Foundation in this season, and I'm kind of happy they didn't go into it too much, because I thought they were going to do like a whole, planet hopping thing with, like, us seeing Polly and Constant go to different planets and try and recruit people. I'm glad that was just the initial setup and nothing more. Because again, that would have got very boring. But going back to what I was saying, I did want to see a day in the life on Terminus. I'm kind of pissed off we didn't get that. I thought that would have been an obvious place to start one of the storylines for season 2. Would be pick up and say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what life's like, It doesn't even need to be a character that you follow around, just a day in the life. Banner from Mojito says, plus Brother Constant is not a blind follower. Yeah, I hope we see her in season 3. Good character. Didn't think I was going to like her. Good actress. If she's not in season 3, I'll definitely look at the actress and other stuff. Because it's always good when a show can get you onto like a new actor or actress. Like, a lot of people have discovered Lee Pace through this, and definitely a guy it's worth checking out. Rosshampton, will Hugo come back? He was a good character. No, I don't think so. I think Hugo's long gone. What would be the point in bringing Hugo back now that Salvor's gone? She was the only one that was really linked to him. So I think Hugo's dead. I thought the last scene between Constant and Hobor was funny and sweet. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but as what I keep saying throughout this episode, it felt rushed to me. A lot of this episode felt like it was rushed and sandwiched in. I like that, you know, the two different stories of the Demerzel one and the Terminus one were kind of running at different speeds for most of the episode, but a lot of it felt like it was sandwiched in. And as I said earlier on, episode 9 was so good. Like, a lot of fans have been saying they should have ended it on episode 9 and not episode 10. I kind of agree with that. Like, that would have been a great finale, just seeing the Foundation get his ass handed to it. Jared says Lee Pace and Pushing Daisies was great. I've not seen that, but I've heard about it. That's been on my to-watch list for ages, but it's never on any streaming services here, I don't think. Vic says, okay, but let's be honest, there was enough for him or Mal to go with her. Well, I'm sure, what's his name, Bell said that the life pod only had enough air for 24 hours. Yeah, I'm sure he said there's only enough air for 24 hours or something like that, and hopefully someone will pick you up. So if you put 2 people in there, that's 12 hours. So maybe she wouldn't have made it. You don't know. Did you not like Constant, Vic? Did you want her dead? Jesus. I'm just asking. I'm not saying. But I was very shocked that they killed Bell and Hobor, because it seemed like they were really setting Bell up for like more of a role betraying Day. I thought that was going to be a whole arc in the next season. And I thought it was just going to be, okay, the death of his husband at the end of season 2 is the point where he's went, right, I'm going to cross the line, but I'm not going to let them see that I've crossed the line. Then we're going to see him doing stuff in season 3, but nope, guess not. Banned from Heat, oh yeah, I agree, episode 9 could have been season 2 finale. Vic, I mean, if you really loved them, you make the sacrifice. So 2 of them dying together, you want a Romeo and Juliet situation on this one, Vic? Ride or die? I don't know, I'll be honest, the way that they done Hobor in this show annoyed me a little bit. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that, and I'm glad. One, I'm shocked how little he was in it, considering the way that they set him up and the role that he plays in the books, and 2, I think that does highlight when you watch the season as a whole, when you go back and you watch something as a whole, you pick up on things that you don't pick up on watching it week to week. And I keep saying it, but it's too many characters. Ross, does Bell know a new day can be decanted? Yeah, absolutely. He said that a couple of times throughout the season. He said it to his husband. He went, well, what if I do kill him? What if I do take over Empire or beat Empire? There's just going to be another one, and then another, and another. So 100% he knew there was going to be a new day. But it must have been very satisfying killing that one. I mean, imagine not only killing your boss, but tricking him and then getting him to kill himself. Let's not go down that road. Vic will have dark thoughts, I'm sure. Kidding on. So the mighty Shaba, the girl who got totally screwed over in season 1, could we possibly see her return? Really want her to be the one to put the boot in? You mean Azora? No, she'd be long dead. Well, I did wonder if they were going to continue or mention, I said this earlier on, I think, if they're going to continue or mention the mutation and damage to the clones, but they've not brought that back up. It's another thing, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed they didn't bring that back up. I don't need them to explain everything, but I was surprised that they didn't hint at who was more responsible. Or if someone else was responsible for the damage to the Cleon DNA. But there could be other people out there, like Callie, that's been working behind the scenes and we're yet to all put it together. You don't know. Banfa says Bell was just happy to push Day out of an airlock. Yep. Vic, they never said who Azura was working with exactly. They just sort of went, oh, it's a band of rebels or a band of terrorists or whatever. But how did they get access to that body? You know, because that's at the heart of, like, the literal heart of Empire, the heart of the Cleons. You would need help for that. Ross says, still don't know who destroyed the Star Bridge. Kind of, yeah. I think... Oh, how can I put this? I think there will be bigger reveals of players in the game that we aren't aware are playing the game. Whether that'll be in Season 3 or later, but there are definitely forces working and manipulating things that we haven't seen yet. And I'm saying that is... Even if they don't go off the books, I'm saying that that's what I think is going to happen. Is there's people doing things that we haven't seen getting done, or we've only seen the end result, or people who are plotting things and we've only seen their plots, we don't know who they are. So there's going to be reveals when it comes to power players and influencers behind the scenes. At least that's what I think. But as always, we're going to have to wait and see. Goyer already hinted that if you go watch his interviews. I've watched a few of them. But the problem is, once you watch one interview, you kind of can't watch another because they're just going to ask the same thing, you know? They might have one question that the other guy didn't have that totally changes everything. But yeah, I watched one or two and I skipped bits. Because one, the audio was terrible in one of them, and two... I don't know, after what Goyer said, a lot of people said to me last week that there was an interview that Goyer done where he said that everyone in Terminus was dead. And I didn't see the interview, but enough people said this to me that I believe it, like, that he said that. And clearly they weren't, so I don't know how much stock I put on his perception of what he's saying. Yeah, it was a Goyer interview. The most recent one I watched was on the Pete Peppers, can't even say it, Pete Peppers channel. And I think that might have been the interview the week before people were talking about. I didn't watch it, but yeah, Goyer said, apparently, so I'm told, that everyone in Terminus was dead. When they're not, they're technically back, but you know, they're a copy or whatever, so... I don't know, it's all from his perspective and how he wants to... Not spin it, that sounds terrible, but sell it. Vic says, he said, anyone left on Terminus is gone. So yeah, it depends on your interpretation. So yeah, exactly. The comment above, I didn't even see that, sorry. He did say that, but it was the way that he said it. So yeah, it's how it's said. It's the interpretation. He's the showrunner. He's the creator, writer, so... Yeah, I think, depending on your point of view and his point of view, I don't know what to take from it. The Mighty Shaba, I'll say this, that fight scene between Empire and General was great. Very, very good effects. I watched lots of action stuff, they nailed that. Yeah, Lee Pace got to kick ass twice this season. Oh god, the first and the last episode. And naked in the first one as well. I wonder if he asked to do that, because when you think about it, he does some great acting, but Day doesn't move a lot. He's a very still guy. So maybe he was like, just give me something to do. Ross Hampton says, I just hope I can survive on planet Earth till 2025 when the next season comes out. Yeah. Well, the interview that I watched today, Goyer said the third season is written, so I just assume they're waiting for the writer's strike, or both strikes, I should say, to end. Because obviously it's made by Apple, but it's filmed in the UK, and I know the rules here are a little different for actors. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole talking about that. Susanna says, I don't think Goyer was creative with words. Do you mean how he was talking in an interview, or do you mean the literal words in the show? I hope Bell's not dead as well, because I really liked him as a character. I liked that actor. He was doing something different that we hadn't seen in Foundation. But let's have a quick vote then, guys. Are Hobart and Belle dead? Give me a Y if you think they are, and give me an N if you think they're still alive. So, are Hobart, Mallow, and Belle Rios dead? As in, we'll never see them again, because dead, not dead as in they're dead in the vault, as in they're not coming back, they're not going to be in season 3. Are Hobart and Belle dead? Let me know what you think, guys. And my voice is really croaking out tonight, I do apologise. Ross is saying yep. To make Shabba, I watched the actress who plays Demerzel, Laura Dern. I can never, no, Laura Dern's fucking from Jurassic Park. Laura Dern, I think her name is, or Byrne. Amazed at how nice and personable she was. Yeah, I think she's Swedish or Norwegian or something. Gerard says yep. From Mr. Kelted, from what I read, a part is filmed on mainland Europe. Different laws in this series might not suffer from the writer's strike in the USA. It's because it's Apple Studios. It's Apple and the whole streaming thing. That's the only reason I said that. But yeah, it is different for shows in the UK, because I know there's still a lot of shows getting filmed. So yeah, pretty much everyone. Yeah, all Ys, big Ys. Interesting. Very interesting, guys. So do you think, the Mighty Shabba, do you think Hobart and Belle are dead? And I mean as in, they're not going to appear in season 3. Not anything else, just are they going to appear in any other seasons, or are they dead? Because death has changed its meaning. But I appreciate you all being here, guys, in the chat again this week. Seen a lot of familiar names. I appreciate that. Hope Harry has a copy of Becky in the vault. No, I don't think he would, because Becky was on board Constant and Polly's ship. The only time she was on Terminus that we've seen is when they went back there, so I don't know. Maybe we'll see them done in flashbacks, WD says. Are you talking about Hobart and Belle? Jared Floyd says dead. Ban from me, it says death of fan. I think you mean favourite characters set as normal by Game of Thrones. Yeah, I said it earlier on, a lot of not similarities, but I got, the sense of the story definitely felt like Game of Thrones, and I know that people that have worked in Game of Thrones work on this show as directors and writers, but that episode 9 definitely made me feel like I was watching Game of Thrones during one of those big battle sequences. So I hope they keep that up. Just I hope they'll stick the landing, not like Game of Thrones. Vic says I'll even take an offspring of Becky at this point. It's not a popular enough show for someone to make a toy of Becky, unfortunately. Maybe you'll get a knitted Becky on Etsy. You don't know. Let's see, where are we, guys? Have I missed anything in the chat? So if I do a season 2 stream next week, is that going to be worth it? Are you guys going to show up? Because I don't know what the interest for the show was going to be now that it ended. Because let's say I've still got a few videos to do about theories and things, obviously where season 3 could go, theories about how season 2 ended. Some of them we've discussed, some of them that we've not, but would you tune in next week? Susanna Troy says Eastern Promises best naked fight scene. It's one that It's one that you remember if you've seen it. What time is it there? It is 11:15. So, going to keep the chat going for about 20 more minutes. So there's still time if you want to drop a super chat in the chat. It's a terrible way to say it, but yeah, appreciate you all being here and appreciate any support that you bring to the channel. And I just passed 2,000 subscribers this week, which was immensely cool. Yes, 2 days ago, yesterday, or the day before, can't remember. But yeah, blew my mind. Completely blew my mind. This show and Silo have been like really great. I wish I'd done a live stream for Silo, but I didn't have time to do it back then. And I don't know, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do after this. If I'm going to keep the Sunday weekly live streams going or not. Because I don't know what else. Excuse me. There isn't really going to be a show until For All Mankind comes back that I'm really going to talk about. Definitely. Because I can't think of what else is coming out in the next few weeks or the next month. So it's going to be quite a quiet month, I think. Vic says, same here, be here, can talk Foundation anytime. There you go. Mr. Kilwood says, no spoilers about Silo, we just watched the first episode. Well, I've got an entire series of reviews. I've got every episode reviewed, and I've got a whole ton of Silo theory videos, Mr. Kilwood. So if you want to go back, you can watch them all without any spoilers. Because I haven't read the Silo books. So I didn't know what happened, or at least I didn't really know too much about what happened. So yeah, if you want to go and check out my reviews after you've watched an episode, and then comment and let me know what you think. But yeah, never done a Silo live chat because I was worried that people would post book spoilers because I had to delete so many from the comments. It was unbelievable. Ross Hampton with a super chat, fantastic, really appreciate that. Wheel of Time is crap. It's a show that I considered covering. The only reason I didn't cover it is it's on, or it was running at the same, not the same time because it comes out different streaming services and that, but it was overlapping with Foundation, and I remember that I liked the show, but I didn't like it enough to go and rewatch the entire show and take notes on it, which would take like 2 days. Jared Floyd said, did you see For All Mankind Season 4 teaser? Yes, I was going to do a video about it, but there wasn't really enough in it. Because the way that it was done like sort of promotional material for, what was the name of that company? Helios, I think it's called. So there was nothing that I could really take from it, to make a video that would be longer than a couple. I mean, if I got 3 minutes out of that video, I know some of my videos are short, but if I got 3 minutes out of that video, I would have been shocked. So I'll cover For All Mankind when there is a new teaser, and I've just started rewatching I'm halfway through season 1, and I'm taking notes on it to do a recap and review of when that starts. So I'll probably, drop one season per week. Because I'm really looking forward to For All Mankind. Mr. Kilted says, to give you an idea, my wife said to me 30 seconds into the first episode to shut up, question everything mode was activated. Yeah, definitely go back and check out my Silo reviews then, because even my theory videos, I'd say, once you've watched it, or watch along, do a watch along. Watch an episode of Silo, then watch one of my reviews, because, yeah, I'd like to know what you think. But Ross, really appreciate the super chat tonight. Thanks for that. The Mighty Shabba says, I like Wheel of Time, but I've got a very low bar. It really has to be shit for me to turn off. At least you're honest. See, I'm kind of coming to the opposite, that there's some shows that I'm realising that I've watched for a while that I need to give up on because I just don't like them. I won't name names here. I don't want to be negative. But yep, so For All Mankind, Raised by Wolves are definitely coming. Maybe some Marvel stuff as well. But because of these strikes and stuff, there's no new shows to talk about, really. Ross Hampton says, if you think Fake Out Deaths of Foundation is bad, Wheel of Time takes the piss. Really? That's a shame. I like season 1, I like... What's her name? Rosamund Pike. I think she's a very underrated actress. I loved that movie she was in, Gone Girl. Mr. Kelted, I love to watch asylum movies. Very low bar, yeah. Very low budget as well, but hey man, whatever you like. But I switched off with Wheel of Time. Have you thought about The Changeling? Is that a show, Gerard? Is The Changeling a show? Let me know if it's a show and what channel or service it's on, because I've not heard. Oh no, shit, I have heard about that. You're right, no, I have heard about it. It's not been on my radar. The only reason I've seen it is it pops up on Twitter occasionally. I was going to do From, but I don't know if it's getting a third season. But Raised by Wolves, I've done the first season. Or at least I've done my notes on it. I've not recorded it yet. That'll be coming not this week, but next week. Loki season 2 is the other TV show I'm going to start covering, because I think that's the best thing that Marvel's done post Endgame, and it's such a smart show the way that it plays with time as well. I like a time travel show that uses time well, not like the new Quantum Leap reboot that's pretty bad. But Loki I'm going to be covering. For All Mankind I'm going to be covering. Ahsoka, although no one watches those reviews. Yeah, go and watch my Ahsoka and my Daryl Dixon review, please, guys, after this one. That'd be good. But Daryl Dixon I might cover. Actually, I think there's a new episode on tonight, so I'll watch that. If it's any good, I'll cover it, and if it's not, I won't. And Ahsoka I'll cover to the end. And then we're just going to have to wait and see what else is on after that and what's going on with these strikes. I did think about going back and recapping old shows as well, but I don't know what shows I would do. So many good ones. And ideally you don't want to do a show that's been on for like 6 seasons, because I need to watch 6 seasons of TV. Which, when you're sitting taking notes, it takes a long time. But you know, go back and do like Stranger Things recap season 1 to whatever it is, 4 now. The Shabba, ooh mate, Dixon. So you watch the Muskets. I like the Muskets and the Daryl Dixon show, but I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. Something about the Daryl Dixon show gives me, I don't know, not a lot of optimism for what it's going to do. I was going to do an entire video on the Walking Dead franchise, because I'm not a fan of it anymore. I still watch it. Look, I don't watch... What's the first spin-off? Fear the Walking Dead. I gave up on that because that got terrible. Because it had one season that was brilliant, one season that was terrible, one season that was brilliant, one season that was terrible. Watched The Walking Dead just because I knew it was ending. Watched World Beyond and then gave up on that after the first season. Haven't watched Tales of the Walking Dead. Watched Dead City, but I didn't review it, which I kind of regret. I wish I had reviewed Dead City a little bit. And then Daryl Dixon, just as a popular character, I thought, oh, well, I'll review it and see where it goes, and it was kind of boring. But yeah, let me know, guys, if there is any suggestions for shows that you want me to go back and talk about, because it's going to be hard with new ones. Vic says I stopped watching The Walking Dead when Negan became nice. Yeah, I get that. But it's just I was a fan of the comics for years, so I'm just always curious what to do with it, but I'm not a big enough fan that I want to spend 2 or 3 hours making a bloody video. Because I think that's so weird, to get into the whole YouTube thing for a moment, is I get like 1,000 views on a Foundation video, no problem at all, but if I do anything that's not Foundation or Silo, I get like 300 or 400 or something like that, and I just think, wow, that's... I guess it just must be people's tastes or competing with other channels or stuff, but yeah, I just think that is bizarre. Limited Light, what about the Quantum Leap reboot? Yes, I did recently rewatch all of that. It's a good point, I might do a quick recap of it. I don't know what the popularity is though, you know. And I don't want to do it and start comparing it to the first show as well, because that's not really fair. But there were a couple of good points in the Quantum Leap reboot that are worth talking about, but I think I would be more negative on it than positive, and that's not... I don't want to bash stuff. I always say that as I don't want to become a hater, and if you know what I mean by that, those kind of people, I don't want to be those kind of people that just hate on stuff. I'd make a lot of money, judging from what I see online, but it's not really me. Mr. Killet says, Walking Dead, I stopped watching by season 4, read the comics when I was in hospital. Comics are good, show became too much of a soap opera for me. Yeah, I get that. Mighty Shaba, I watched Quantum Leap reboot and deleted it. Fair enough. Jared Floyd said I couldn't get into the reboot. Yeah, Quantum Leap reboot wasn't great. Oh, it's not really a reboot, it's more a continuation. But not fantastic. The Mighty Shaba says, yeah, nothing nice to say, don't say it. Yeah, I mean, I try and be balanced and honest. I'm not going to be positive about something that I think is utter crap, but at the same time, I'm not just come on and go, whoa, blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't think that the Barbie film and the fucking Marvels movie is going to destroy Hollywood because it's got women in it. Put it that way. And I don't get why these guys spend so much time. I didn't know until the Barbie film came out that so many middle-aged white guys had opinions and expectations of what a Barbie film was going to be. I was shocked. But anyway, let's not go down that road. So yeah, I'm going to do a season 2 stream, same time next week, or roundabouts. I'll post any changes to the time in the community tab if you guys follow that. Mr. Keltwood, you can still be critical and still be positive by agreeing negative equals monies on YouTube. Oh, of course it does. But I wouldn't want to interact with an audience full of highly charged negative people, is the way I'm going to put it. That's why I don't really do DC stuff, and I don't get too much into Star Wars. I'm a bigger Star Wars fan than you might think watching my videos, put it that way. Because even I get comments sometimes that I need to delete that I think are... I've had a few offensive ones, definitely. I'm not going to get into what they said. But yeah, ones where they think that by having a lead female character, it's destroying the fabric of reality. Like, get a fucking grip of yourself. Ross, got to go. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time as well. Thanks for supporting the channel as well. I hope you have a great week. Anyone that doesn't support the channel, I hope you just have an average week. I'm kidding on. Terrible joke. Because there's one video that I was thinking about doing, which is about a TV show that I won't name, that I think is maybe the worst episode of television I've ever watched. I thought it was Citadel when I watched Citadel this year on Amazon. That was the worst show I'd ever seen. But there's one TV show where I put it on knowing that it wasn't going to be good, and it was 10 times worse than I thought. But I was thinking about doing a stream talking about my favourite or my top, or just rating, I suppose, the Marvel shows, because I don't really talk about Marvel that much, and I'm a big Marvel fan, big movie fan, big comic book fan, and I don't talk about that stuff on my channel as much as I'd like to, because at the moment, again, with the strikes, there's not a lot happening. But I do know spoilers. Like, if you watched my Shoka video reviews, you know that I know stuff. I just don't talk about it. Like, if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I know stuff. I drop hints all the time. Because there's spoilers out there, and there are people that are messaging you. It's just all the stuff that I know is for stuff that I don't talk about on my channel, which is weird. Okay, so the show that I watched, I gave up. Jared says I gave up on Citadel. Yeah, I might go back to it because apparently it's getting a spin-off in a second season, but that show was one of the worst I've ever seen. So the show that I watched that I knew was going to be bad, but was 10 times worse than I thought, was Gotham Knights, which I don't even know what channel it was on. I think it's on the CW, but it's a very CW-verse show, and to set it up, the first episode starts with Batman / Bruce Wayne being murdered, and then it ends with these teenagers escaping who are going to be like these new vigilantes called the Gotham Knights, and it is like, it's a show that feels like it was made in 2003. It's like, it's so cheap. There's no stories, there's no characters. Like, even if you weren't a Batman fan, even if you'd just seen like the Christopher Nolan, or even if you weren't a DC fan or whatever, even if you'd seen all the Batman films, weren't a fan of them, had just got a surface level knowledge of Batman, you would know that everything in Gotham Knights was just terrible. Like, I know it got cancelled. It's not getting a second season, but I don't know how many episodes are in the first season, but I gave up after the first episode because I was just, I actually thought I'd like put on a wrong show, or I'd like got the wrong video, because I was like, it feels like I'm watching something from 2004, not 2023. It was just so bad. And it came out when the whole James Gunn taking over DC thing happened and everyone was going to get rebooted, so you knew that it meant nothing, and you knew that the Arrowverse had, in fact I don't think the Flash show had even ended when Gotham Knights came out. I can't remember, but yeah, you knew it wasn't going to mean anything, it wasn't going to connect to anything, none of the characters were going to go anywhere. I mean, the Teen Titans, I watched the first season of the Titans show. Excuse me. I watched the first season of the Titans show, thought it was okay, was not for me, but it was okay. Doom Patrol, haven't watched it, but I've heard it's very good. But Gotham Knights was just absolutely terrible. The Mighty Shabba says, I disagree, the girl that plays in art actually turns into a decent show. Are you talking about Gotham Knights? I can't even remember what character that is, but yeah, I've got a script. I don't think I recorded the audio for it, about the worst episode of TV I've ever seen was Gotham Knights. This year. In fact, maybe the last 5 years it might be the worst thing I've ever watched. And I watch TV a lot. Enough to talk about it on YouTube, put it that way. So definitely not a highlight. Not one that I would recommend. But neither's Citadel either. But I'm not going to hate on them. I'm just going to say that they weren't... Well, Gotham Knights had a terrible head start to... it was always going to be behind. But Citadel, for the money and the talent... Richard Madden, Scottish lad and all that, got to support Scottish boys. Terrible. Was not a fan. 12 Monkeys, yeah, like, limited, like, someone told me that's on a streaming service here. It's not one of the ones that I use a lot, but it's a free one. I think I watched up to the last season of 12 Monkeys, and then I fell off with it somehow. I can't remember when. Mr. Keltwood, I grew up with Marvel's X-Men in the 80s, got hooked to the comics. What was out back then with DC was a bit bland in my eyes compared to the X-Men, that is. I'd agree with that. I mean, I didn't get any comics till the 90s, so I'm probably a little bit younger than you, but the first big one that got me was Batman Nightfall. Loved it. I did get any X-Men later on because of the X-Men cartoon. Really got me into the comics in a big way. How many seasons of 12 Monkeys were there? I think there was 3 or 4. 2 seconds, I'll tell you. I've got my phone here. Find out. There was at least 3, I think. 4 seasons. 4 seasons of 12 Monkeys, but it just got too kind of derivative with the time travel stuff. Orphan Black, don't know how many seasons of that there were. I think there was 4. I gave up. I only watched the first 2 of Orphan Black. It was a good show, but I just didn't have time to watch it when it was on. But we're going to wrap it up in about 5 minutes, guys. A lot of things that we didn't talk about this week, so I'll bring that up next week for the season 2 wrap up. I'm sorry that I didn't have photos of the episode lined up this week either. I know it makes it a bit easier to talk about stuff, but I just had some things going on, so I couldn't do it. But anything you want to wrap up in the next 5 minutes, now's time to ask. Are you the critical drinker in disguise? No, but because we're both Scottish, I do a very good impression of the critical drinker. Or at least I think I do a very good impression of the critical drinker. I'm not going to do it though, but I might do it. I won't do it. No, I won't do it. I don't want that. I wouldn't want any of these fans to be upset with me about that, because that would not be very nice for me or them. People always mention the critical drinker. He's the most famous Scottish YouTuber, I suppose. What are you drinking? At the moment, I've got water next to me. That's it. Not drinking anything else. Or do you mean, what do I drink when I drink? Just beer, usually. Oh, it's a Sunday night. Oh, it's 11:30 on a Sunday night here, so it's not time to get mad with it, as we say in Scotland. No drinking. I don't really drink anyway these days. If I was drinking on stream, that'd be a nightmare, because I'd just be slurring my words like that. Mr. Kilted, best to avoid potential YouTube drama. Oh yes, I'll avoid YouTube drama all day long. It's just not something I want to get dragged into. And I hate people that create drama. I hate all these beefs. They're not beefs, they're just fucking bullshit. Vic says what a letdown Lochris wine was. Yeah, they kept hanging. They really were hanging a lantern on that one. You're right. Marcos, welcome to the chat, says, do you think the next season will pick up 152 years without multiple timelines? No, I think there will be multiple timelines. I think they're going to use Gale and Harry jumping through the years as a device to tell the story, but we're going to have to wait and see. Any future collabs with the drinker on the cards? I'm open to it. I mean, I'll collaborate, if I can say it, collaborate with most people. As long as it's a willing, not willing chat, every chat's got to be a willing chat, but a balanced chat. Mr. Kilwood thrown out the adverts for the beer, Goblin or Hobgoblin. I wouldn't drink on chat. Nah. It wouldn't be a good time for anyone. Fernandez T, welcome to the chat. Have you been hiding in here, man? I'm not trying to heart, but that finale sucked. What a letdown. Yeah, I said earlier on, I don't know if you have been here for a while. But welcome back. Hope you had a good week. That a lot of people are saying online that they preferred episode 9 to episode 10, which I totally understand. And maybe 9 should have been the finale. I don't know, like I say, it depends how the season flows, because when you go back and you binge watch it as a whole, or you binge watch it over 2 nights, you get to see the flow of the stories a lot better, so it might change my perception on a few things. Speaking of the critical drinker, I was going to get into doing more movie reviews. I've got a whole list of movies. A whole list. I've got really old, not really old, but movies that I think don't get enough love, like Blade Runner 2049. Marcos says, didn't love Terminus fake out, one fake out too many. Yep, loads of people have been saying that as well, and I agree with you. They need to stop with the fake outs next season. They need to kill a few people. But yeah, as I was saying, went a little bit off track there. Might start doing movie reviews. I've got one for the first X-Men ready to go, but I'm waiting for something to happen with that regarding Deadpool 3. And I was going to review all the first 3 X-Men film, and then maybe do other older Marvel ones like Blade and stuff. But what do you guys think about that? Let me know. Gerard says Vault Harry was a benevolent god after all. Yep, for the moment. For the moment. Dwight Shabba says, this has been nice, thanks. I love my own them, I don't know where. Chatting is nice. Hey man, always welcome. If you've got Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, you can reach out to me there as well. It's at the Geeks Reviews, and that's all the one word. And I hate that I've still got to type in Twitter to go onto X.com, but whatever. And every time I get a notification from X, I think it's some dodgy, weird porn site. Why would you change the name Twitter? It's literally in the fucking dictionary. Marco says, what's next in thriller sci-fi? I've watched the Silo content too. What's next? Thanks, first of all, for watching all the Silo content, because that's a lot. That's like 10 reviews plus at least 4 or 5 theory videos. Raised by Wolves, I'm going to do. People have requested that, so I'm happy to do it. It's only 2 seasons. For All Mankind, when it comes back in about a month, I'm going to do that. Locate Season 2, going to do that. Ashoka, probably going to stick with it to the end of the season. Daryl Dixon, see how tonight's episode goes, I should say. Fernandez, wow. Thanks for that super chat there, $10. I enjoy your reviews and run to you after a show. Well, thanks, but makes me sad that we're not going to have anything to talk about this week. I did say earlier on in the chat I'm going to do another final live chat next week, a sort of season 2 review, highs and lows, ups and downs, that kind of thing. But that is a massive super chat you've dropped there, so I really appreciate that. And your continued support, because I obviously see you guys commenting in the comments as well. But I'm happy to take recommendations, Marcos, as I was saying, for any shows that you might want me to talk about. But again, as I keep saying, it's the strikes and stuff makes it very difficult to see what's going to come out or when it's going to come out. Because I had an entire whole thing about June lined up for that coming out, and it got pushed back to March. So yeah. Oh, I'm going to do a June in the Foundation video as well. So for the next week, because we've got a few people that have come into the chat late, so for the next week I'm going to keep doing Foundation TD videos, finish it up with a live chat, and then that'll be Foundation for this season. And then after that, probably Raised by Wolves, and then For All Mankind. But I don't know. I don't know if I've done like a Raised by Wolves live chat on a Sunday at the same time if people would tune into that. And I don't just want to keep doing a live stream every Sunday where we talk about Foundation for like the next 2.5 years, because that would get boring. That would get very boring. Although in saying that, I could corner the market on Foundation streams. Corner that market. But yeah, Ross and Fernandez, really appreciate those super chats. When I started YouTube, I never thought I'd be doing anything like this, and I didn't think I'd have 2,000 subscribers, let alone talking to people like yourself in live chats and having a pretty good time with it. So I appreciate everyone. I appreciate any video that you've watched, and the fact that you're subscribed to the channel and that you've left likes as well. Really means a lot. Fernandez says, came late, Sunday's a sports day in the States. Yeah, true. The only reason I do it at this time is because it's kind of late for me, but it's kind of mid for everyone else, because most of my audience is in America. So that's the only reason that I do it this time, because I can't do it, like, you know, to cater for an American audience. I can't do it during the week, or I'd be up till like 3 or 4 in the morning. It's just the way it works. Might do a podcast as well. Was thinking about that. Fernandez says, later sort, nice hearing you live. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope whatever other sports you're watching, your team does well, and really thanks for that super chat. Hope to see you again here next week as well, depending on what sport's on, of course. The Mighty Shabba says, I love writing books, but most TV shows are crap. Not a big law, procedural kind of guy. Marco says the Invictus ship wasn't so Invictus after all, like the Expanse style space battle. Better. We've only seen the one space battle in Foundation, so it's kind of hard to tell. Vic says, I hope the Expanse picks up. It's been slow. Vic, I'm going to say this to you. I'm just going to say this to you, and it sounds like I'm being like a radio talk show host here, talking to someone that's phoning in. Stick with it. It'll get better. Like, the Expanse is going to take you places that you won't imagine. I would love to talk to you about it now and tell you what's going to happen, but I can't. I'm not going to even hint at where it goes, because it's such a good show. I'm not even going to tell you who my favourite characters are, because you wouldn't have seen one of them yet. But yeah, love it. It does, in terms of the production, the show and the story, it does get darker as the seasons get on, because the first season, especially the first few episodes, feel very light and kind of like a normal sci-fi show, but it does get very grounded and gritty and real. Oh yeah, Vic, I forgot that Jared Harris plays Anderson Dawes. Is it Anderson Dawes that he plays on The Expanse? That's one thing that threw me off. It was the Belter accent, because it took me about 3 watches to get into The Expanse, and was the way that the Belters talk really threw me off, because I thought, oh, they're just doing like kind of dodgy Jamaican accents, but it's not. It's like their own thing. But yeah, I think there's been enough interest in the chat to say, hey, let's do an Expanse one at some point. But obviously we need to wait till Vic's done, because she's only on episode 3. So yeah, people in the chat that have seen The Expanse, don't ruin it. Do not ruin it. I don't know how you'd ruin it in a single comment anyway, but don't ruin it. Whereabouts are you all in the world anyway? Because I know that Susanna is from New York, and I think Vic said she was from New York as well. Vic says, give me 2 weeks. Don't rush through it. Go back and watch it. There's like one season that... What season is it? Is it season 4? There's one season that I think is the most beautiful CGI space shot ever, and it's season 4 of The Expanse. Vic, you're in Texas? Fernandez T. Expanse ships are like Battlestar. Yep, both very... That's what I was talking about, the gritty realism and it being rooted. Gerard Floyd is in the UK, so you've got work tomorrow, or it's Monday at least for you, like everyone else. Mr. Killet says Babylon 5 did space battles right to The Expanse, the same thing. Inertia, location, speed, direction matters in space. Oh yeah, they've so much fun with that in The Expanse. Like, let's not ruin it, poor Vic, because you're just in for a treat. You're in for a treat watching that show for the first time. If you're on Twitter, Vic, follow me on Twitter and then message me when you're watching The Expanse, because I'd love to hear what you think. Like, The Expanse and Dark are 2 shows that I'd love to sit and watch with someone that's never seen them, because they're just such good shows. Citizen Wayne says, I'm a late or fairly early. You're pretty late. We've been going for just over 2 hours, and I said I was going to cut it at 2 hours, but we're just having a bit of a chit chat. This is the end of it. Citizen Wayne also in Texas. Mr. Kilted says no longer in Scotland, moved 1 time zone ahead now in the Netherlands. Ah, nice. Vic, I've seen Dark twice. You know what I mean then? Like the way that I feel about Dark and The Expanse is, if you get to watch those shows for the first time, like just they're just shows that I loved. My Twitter handle, I think, let's give you the right one because I'm sure I said that earlier on. I'll put it in the chat. Give me a second. But yeah, I would love to sit and watch Dark or The Expanse with someone who hasn't seen it, just to get their reactions, because they're like shows that have brilliant moments and great story, and people are like, oh, I can't believe that happened. Yeah, Marcos knows what I mean. I wish I could watch. Marcos says exactly what I'm saying. I wish I could watch The Expanse and Dark for the first time, because just looks so good. I've probably watched The Expanse every season of it apart from 6 at least 3 times. Fernandez T says, everyone I respect says The Expanse is one of the best sci-fi shows but never get past season 2. Fair enough, not everything is for everyone. That's perfectly fine. The Mighty Shaba, what's Dark? It's a show on Netflix I'd highly recommend. Vic says I sat down and made my friends watch Dark. I wish I could do that. My friends don't have that much time or attention that I can drag them to do that. So I'm glad. But there's a few people where I've went, watch Dark. Watch it with a notepad. And then just let me, because you'll need a notepad to follow it, and just let me know what you think. No one ever gets back to me. It's just that I'd love to. I wish I had a YouTube channel when Dark was on. I would have loved to have sat and talked about Dark weekly. Think of the theory videos I could have done with Dark. Jesus. You'd be all over the place. From is a show from the creators of Dark. It's pretty good. It's not from the creators of Dark. It's from the creators of Lost. But yeah, From is not bad. The Mighty Shaba. Okay, I'll have to find it. Yeah, The Mighty Shaba. Look, I'm just going to call you Shaba because it's a mouthful to say. Is Dark is like top 10 shows of all time. Like, yeah, Dark and The Expanse, top 10 shows of all time, for me at least, for what that means. Gerard, did you see 1899? Yes, I did. That's another one that I could do a video on. I've got a full script written for 1899. Oh, yeah, Vic's talking about 1899 as well, saying she was mad that it was cancelled. No, yeah, so go back, sorry, I'm reading out the chats as I'm getting them. So 1899, yeah, I could do a video on that. It'd be a bit of a longer one, but that's perfectly fine because it's only one season. And as Fernandez is saying, Dark, no, Dark isn't the same people as From. Marcos is agreeing with Dark top 5 at least. Yeah, it's a shame we never got to see where 1899 was going to go, but Dark was just, again, can't stress that enough. But right, guys, I have gone over when I said I was going to go over, so I'm going to give this 5 more minutes and then call it a night, because it is coming up for midnight here, and I am losing my voice as always. But as I said, I'm going to do, a season 2 round off chat next week at the same time. And if the time does change, I'll post it in the community tab, so keep an eye on that. Because there's still some things to talk about in this show, where we think it's going to go for season 3, other things, and I'm going to be posting more theory videos during the week, probably the same, about one a day. Fernandez T says, I can't believe they cancelled 1899. Yep, very expensive show. Well, that's why. Very expensive. They've done a making of it on Netflix. I'd recommend watching that and you see how expensive it is. Crazy. And it didn't even have any named actors in it. Fernandez T, yep, enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy your week as well. Hope to see you back next week. Excuse me, guys. But that's another thing I meant to ask while I've got you here in terms of videos, because I've been posting a lot of shorter ones recently. Would you prefer if videos were a bit longer, like over the 10-minute mark, or are you happy them just being whatever length? Let me know what you think. Longer videos or just as long as they need to be. Because sometimes you feel like you're dragging it out to make it longer. And I kind of don't want that to be the case. Excuse me, guys. Vic says 20 minutes and under, I think, are good. Fernandez T says, can't wait for the next show you review. Hope it's a good one. Well, there's a few coming up, what I say, raised by wolves for all mankind. Mr. Kilted says you're asking someone who loves to listen to 4 hour plus videos or podcasts. Shaba says thanks for your chat. See you soon. Personal, don't care how long they are as long as they're relevant. Cool. Ten to 17 with me, John Jenkins. John, you've been quiet, or have you just joined the chat? Hope you had a good weekend anyway. Yeah, I've got a few longer ones planned. It's just doing the theory ones because you're only talking about one specific aspect of a show. They tend to be shorter. Because believe it or not, up until recently, most of my videos were about 20 minutes. And I cut them down. Really cut them down. Fernandez, I did say raised by wolves. That's not going to be this week coming. That's going to be next week after I'm done with Foundation. So as I said, post a few more theory videos this week. Do a season 2 chat next Sunday, and then I'll do Raised by Wolves the week after that. Because that's another reason I was going to do movie reviews as well, is I can make them longer. Plus, again, we're not getting a lot of good news shows coming up. It's going to be very thin the next few months. I've already seen some channels struggling with content already, and I can feel it. Because I thought they would have set up For All Mankind, or what's the other one? Severance. That's a show I'm going to cover. Severance to take over after Foundation ended, because it done like Silo, and then I think it was 2 weeks. Then it was Foundation. So it's kind of like I'm coming to the end of like a 20-week run, or 20+ week run of doing videos that are going to have a bit of a hole in the schedule. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to see if Daryl Dixon is... The new episode of Daryl Dixon's up, and then I'll go to bed after watching that. But thanks for joining me. As always, I really appreciate it. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for getting me to 2,000 subscribers. Thanks for the super chats. And thanks for your time, as always. I want to see you back here next week. We're going to be talking about Season 2 in general, going through stuff that we like, ups and downs, highs and lows, goods and bads, characters that we love, characters that we love to hate. So join me next week where we'll be doing that. Keep an eye on the community tab for any changes to the show or the timing or anything, or if I'm doing any other streams. I keep saying that I'm going to do one on the Marvel shows, but I've not got around to it yet. But if you want to join me on that, as I say, best place to catch me is on Twitter @TheGeeksReviews. Or the community tab. Enjoy your week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, wherever you are. And as always, my name's Al. Bye.